OK, this is a paper review with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Mike Salem. And we are looking, of course, at this Makerfield by-election. Just to be clear to you, this broadcast was either played out or recorded at just after 11 o'clock on the 18th, which is this Thursday. If you're listening on Friday morning, you may well have the Makerfield by-election results. But we are going to, nonetheless, talk about the significance of it. We're expecting an Andy Burnham win, aren't we, Mike?
Oh, well, maybe. It's counts too early. I'm not sure, actually. I've also been confused because to get Starmer out, you have to vote Reform, but then Labour are saying to get Starmer out, vote Labour Burnham.
Yeah, that is correct.
So,
there's various ways to skin a cat.
So that is correct. So effectively, Labour have been wandering around Makerfield saying, if you hate the Labour Party, make sure you vote Labour. To solve the problem.
And, of course, Reform and Restore are together about 45%, and Burnham Labour was predicted at about 45%, so they've split that vote.
Indeed. And, I mean, you look at the local elections, and that was a Reform wipeout. But the Burnham name does, I think, carry weight. So it's going to be very exciting. I mean, I'm not going to bet just yet. But,
what would you bet, though? Labour, would you?
I think Labour only because Reform Restore is going to split it. And I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing. I think each person should vote with their conscience.
I think, if I'm being honest, I think the duty voters were too big and they voted Burnham, and I think that Reform failed to make the case. Now, I think that any new political party is a work in progress, but I think Reform failed to make the case. But I want to ask you this question. So we bring you on as a commentator, obviously, to look at the papers, but one of the things that's been massive in the press this week, and it is on the front of the iPaper, is about attacks on oil fields. And, look, what is going to happen in the Middle East, in your view? You are a Syrian, you're a Syrian Christian.
Yeah.
One would assume, and I'm just guessing, that you are at least vaguely supportive of what Israel and the United States of America are doing in terms of attempting to free the Middle East. How do you see this playing out? Because I worry that we're going to all flake and Iran is going to continue doing what it's doing.
Well, and they can, because they've been saving up for it for so many years.
Okay.
And I think this has been a bad deal by America. It's £300 billion given to Iran, a crazy number, and the canal was open before the conflict, and the Americans are looking at it and thinking,
start charging now.
Yeah, and you know they're looking at it, and it was open before, and then Trump closed it, and now it's open again, but we lost $300 billion.
And of course, it's not going to work. You know, Iran have said, "Oh yeah, don't worry, we're not going to make any weapons with our 60%, you know, nuclear missile enriched." Of course, no, we're not going to do. Of course, they are, and then Israel's going to come in, and it's all going to end again. He's just doing this, Trump, for the next elections, isn't it?
I think this has been a very difficult learning curve for Trump to see how delicate and tricky the Middle East situation is. Just because you bomb a country thoroughly, it doesn't mean that they're out of it.
He thought he could win, didn't he? He thought they would revolt and the people would take over.
But the Iranian, you know, they have really decentralised their mechanisms, and they were able to still send drones and send missiles.
What is the answer? Because, look, first, I think it's important to bear in mind that you are not a Syrian refugee. You're somebody who came over here as a result of your family working in the UK.
Indeed, yes.
But there are a large number of Christians being killed and injured and thrown out of Syria. And what I look at, I see it just being galvanised into two factions. We seem to have absolute nutter extremist governments, jihadis, Israel, you know, winding people up or doing the right thing, depending on your view. But fundamentally, it doesn't make that much difference. You know, can we actually get anywhere with this lot, or are we just wasting our time?
Yeah, and I think the Christians are the ones that are struggling because both sides are encroaching on them, and that's really tricky for us. And as I was trying to say, Trump has had a very difficult learning curve here because he realised it's not as straightforward as he thinks. And the solution, to answer your question, is, I'm afraid, time, is education, and it's just good old-fashioned interfaith work to try and get those people together.
We've heard that for a long time.
That's never going to work, with jihadists who just say, well, I'm not, forget all that, I'm going with what...
Indeed, but because we have to stay out of it, because we've been funding things crazy in the Middle East for over the last 20 years.
But can I ask you this question? And if the answer is no, then I accept that.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
But is there any future for moderate Christians in the Middle East?
In Lebanon, yes. Syria, no. The constitution requires the president to be Muslim.
Okay.
And I think that's a mistake. I think, in fact, if it was a Christian, it would be a moderate voice to settle the dispute between the Sunnis and the Shias, because you won't have a stake in it. So Lebanon is probably your best bet.
The Hezbollah are out there, don't they?
Yeah, well, they are...
Yeah, but what we're talking about is... What you're talking about, and I'm not being disrespectful when I say this, is it possible one enclave of Christianity can survive? That's the question you're answering. Whereas my question was, can Christianity survive?
It's got to. I mean, I think if you believe in the faith, and I do, I think it will survive. But how is going to be difficult. And I think we just pray for peace, hope that things are calmed down, and once things have calmed down, then you can reintroduce dialogue, engagement, the ability to practice your faith without being persecuted.
What about the countries in the Middle East that actually would engage? Because we've heard about the Loonies, we've heard about Hamas, we've heard about Hezbollah, but we don't often hear about Jordan. We don't often hear about, well, we hear about the United Arab Emirates, but perhaps for different reasons.
Egypt.
Yeah, there is a growing view that there are countries in the Middle East actually who've had enough of this jihadism. Is that false hope, or is it realistic?
Yeah, people are tired. People want to make money. The Gulf wants stability. And
so they're all moving over here, the extremists. That's what's happening.
Well, it's a
not so much from the Middle East, though.
It's a combination of things. I think not vetting people is not helpful, but you know, extremists sadly are everywhere. And,
yeah, but like they got kicked out, wasn't it Libya, or was it the guy that blew up the Manchester arena? You know, the Emirates have said they're not going to allow their kids to study in Britain because they're getting radicalised. I mean, now Europe is the centre, because obviously it's where the Islamists want to get they want to get back to what was in Spain. They want to. It's, you know, there's two Islamic worlds. There's the Islamic world and there's the world where you've got to do the jihad, and that's why they're coming to Europe.
Yeah, and I think the radicalisation point is not just from the Middle East. We have seen people being radicalised within the UK itself. We have been seeing a wave of what they call reverts, for example. I think there has been a lack of attention by the public to see the extent of the work that's being done online. And, you know, it's one thing to try and advocate for your faith peacefully, but there's another thing to advocate for violence and call for things to be blown up, and I think that's not okay at all.
But what about this point that we talked about earlier, which is, what about those of us who say, do you know what, I don't care if you're Muslim or Jewish, Hindu, Sikh, anything like that. I believe that Britain should be a majority Christian country, and the majority of the majority of people in Britain should be British. Why can't I say that?
You can't say that. You just said it.
No, but well, reasonable. But why is that? But why would that be such an unusual view? I suspect it's not something that you find remotely challenging. Well, but if I was to stand up as an example in the House of Commons and say Britain should be majority Christian and it should be majority British, you'd be castigated.
And if you're a white, if someone who was black or brown said that, they'd be all right. So it's actually a racist thing, isn't it? If Kemi Badenoch said that, she wouldn't be called racist.
I think it's because people take the debate far too heated and they don't do it in a measured and collective way. I think it is reasonable to accept that each country should have a majority of its people in it. There are notable exceptions, like the Emirates, for instance, or Jordan, where they have...
I mean, I think it's important to understand that in the United Arab Emirates, almost every citizen of the United Arab Emirates is an Emirati. You are welcome to come and have a job there, which I don't have a problem with. I mean, what's happening in Britain is that, and Asher, look, Asher is a lovely. Look, the way
thanks, man.
The way Asher Gould comes across on the TV and radio is what he's like. He's a laid back, decent bloke. But he does walk around Birmingham going, actually, there's no Brummies here anymore. Yeah. And that is a reasonable criticism.
I'm the only Brummie in the village.
And I think it depends what you define citizenship as. And I think in Britain for very long, I think as long as you come to this country, embrace...
Live for 4 years,
but I think there was an understanding of embracing values. You know, you have to believe in parliamentary sovereignty, which I very much believe in, for example. I think it's one of the greatest systems existed. So, you know, that I think is important, but I think we've sadly lost that. I think we've become a bit complacent on asking people to fit in society, and I think that's difficult because you need to fit into your society to do well. So, you know, I wouldn't have been able to make the most out of this country had I just spoken Arabic and refused to mingle in. But, you know, I try and, you know, learn the language.
But I was in Makerfield.
Got a Panama hat.
But I was in Makerfield. Put it on. You look ridiculous. But I was in Makerfield, and you know, you might get an Uber driver, or I might go to an Indian restaurant or whatever. And look, I went into an Indian restaurant and I started asking them about the by-election. Just didn't know anything about it. Now, I'm not having a go at these guys, they're not evil people, but it's not their world. So you get into a taxi with, hey, mate, I'll tell you what, Uber's done us over, we're losing a fortune, mate. Right, you get that sort of guy. Oh, Andy Burnham, he's no good, or Sarah Poachin, she's all right, or I can't stand Farage, or you get that. You get in with Ahmed, and you go, what do you think of the by-election? What's a by-election? And look, I don't mean to be rude, but when
I found out with people from this country though, when you're talking about integrating, what is very clear is that this guy just literally has never met anybody who talks about British politics.
There are a range of reasons for that. I mean, one of them could be political apathy. I think I've seen that a lot more often nowadays, whether someone is ethnically British or not, ethnically Anglo-Saxon. I think apathy has become a real serious issue. The trust in politics has declined.
Especially since Brexit, that was a nail in the coffin.
And you might see it more prevalent within minorities because they just never engage in the first place. So, but the reality is there are a combination of factors. But when it comes to people coming to Britain, we have always had a very long history with that because Britain was an empire for so long and it, you know, conquered 25% of the world.
But very small amount of immigration.
Yeah, but remember, everyone was called a subject of the king or the emperor. So, and this is what I love, because regardless of where you are from, you're all equal. You're all subjects to the king. So we've always had this attitude that we can all be part of the same commonwealth. And maybe 100 years ago, people would familiarise themselves with that and associate themselves with that. But nowadays,
they were proud of it, weren't they?
Indeed, but as you know, decolonisation took place and you had new identities, new countries emerge, I think there has been tensions in trying to mix all that.
Do you not think I'm starting to believe what Danny Kruger said was right? Right. So, whatever way we look at it, Danny Kruger has said the British system, the British Constitution, we say Judeo-Christian, it's actually Christian values, right? But he says the whole British Constitution, the whole British legal system relies on it. So as an example, you know, I mean, all these people who complain about, you know, lawfare, as an example, let's not talk specifically about myself, but the kind of, oh, well, this is technically legal, I'm going to go shout at this person, or I'll stand outside this Israeli thing and whatever, like it's technically legal during a genocide in Israel to stand outside the Israeli embassy saying stop the Israeli genocide, right? It's technically legal to do that, but it's just not what British people would normally do. And Danny Kruger's argument, I think, is this: if people do not fundamentally understand our culture, then our legal system makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Because when people say everything in Britain's cricket, well, no, it's not. Because ultimately, you know, Asher Gould has to watch people in Israel being massacred and then pay the taxes for the Metropolitan Police to approve a protest outside the Israeli embassy where they laugh at the Israelis for dying, right? Now, I would say that is legal. But it is not within the spirit of why that legality existed.
The spirit of the law, that's what we talk about.
I don't plan to ban that hate speech. I plan to say to you, if you cannot understand why that is unacceptable, actually you shouldn't be living in Britain.
And that's a very, I think, mature attitude to have, because you've highlighted that it is legal, but actually you have the right to disagree with the protest. And I think that's what fundamentally should be about.
I have the right to say a protest is turning up once, not marching down central London every bloody week,
intimidating people,
shouting at Jewish people for
going to a bakery
for 3 years.
Indeed, and I think I sadly have to say this has been brought on partly because we ourselves in Britain have not been taking up our civic virtues as strongly as we should have been.
No. Sorry, I disagree.
You disagree with that? Okay.
I'll tell you why I disagree with this.
Yeah, tell me.
Because I am not interested. I'm not interested in shouting at the bloke next door because he wants to live his life in a certain way. I'm not interested in doing that. Englishman's home is his castle. I will get on with my life. You will do your bloody thing, whatever it is. Right. What is happening now is we are importing cultural views from around the world, like, oh, let's organise. It's not illegal to organise yourself into a black gang in Brixton. It's not illegal to do that, right? But the reason nobody does it is because nobody did it before mass immigration. You know, the idea of forcing women. I mean, it's perfectly legal to wear a burqa in this country, but the problem is we're now forcing women to do it because of radical Islam coming to Britain. My argument is the reason these things are not illegal is because we don't like them, and we just think there's just a general obvious rule they shouldn't exist. But the next point is this. I don't want to go down the other option, which is the Keir Starmer option, which is to say, what we now need is the law to arbitrate on all these things. So what we need to do is, we know there's hate speakers from Islam, so we have to ban Christians as well. I say, look, I don't believe in preaching at you in the street, and if some Muslim guy wants to do that, he should do that in Afghanistan.
Yeah, and I think, but my point is, I accept that there has been lots of people coming in, but when they come in, what standard are they looking to integrate? And so if I'm an immigrant that just came to this country and I want to be British, what's the standard? What do I need to do to become British? And we don't have that. And that, as a result, terms like British value, for example, has been hijacked to mean something completely different.
So first of all, you make a very good point. And I think the answer is this. So there is a general view amongst migrants. There is a general view amongst many people that there is no such thing as Western culture. The reason is it's almost like nobody knows that vanilla is a flavour of ice cream. Ice cream doesn't taste of anything without vanilla, but people think that that it's the basis. Right. If you come from Iraq and move in next door to me and go, teach me, I need to learn your culture, you have to tell me, I'm happy to do it. But if you basically say, you've got no culture, I'm not interested, tell me I'm wrong, then I think, I was just having a beer with my mates. I'm not that... But
also, they don't move in next door to you, they move into where all the other people from where they're from live. That's the trouble with it.
And I think I agree. I think that is... part of the issue where actually maybe we should encourage people to have that, what I'm saying, that little book, and, you can actually see, what British... And I completely reject the fact that the West doesn't have culture. I mean, you look at music, classical...
Carry-on films, custard pie fights.
Panama hats.
But if you then look at the hatred and anti-Semitism of Jewish people, it seems to me, people turn around and go, oh, they've all got good jobs. So first of all, they don't all have good jobs. But if a Jewish person is forced out of their land, which they had been, and has to come to Britain, and then works hard, gets a degree, speaks it, you never know who they are. And well, they're trying their best to integrate. I mean, my argument is this, that when you look at Jewish people, look, I don't know whether it's right that there should be any sort of multiculturalism, but what you were talking about with Jewish people is very simply this. People who are British because they want to be British, they integrate, whatever. And you walk around the street, I go for a beer with somebody and I go, oh, should we have a hog roast? And they go, oh, I'm Jewish. Didn't even know, didn't care, didn't make any difference to me. Good bloke.
Yeah, exactly. And
I don't often offer Jewish people
a lot of them will have a hog roast as well. Naughty.
I take my Lent pretty seriously. I go on a vegan Lent, which is the sort of traditional Eastern.
I love the way that a punishment for a Christian is to be a vegan.
Oh yeah, we're a bit late for a breaking. Let's take a little break. Mike Salem here. Salem's lot. We're going through all the papers. If you're listening in the morning, Jeremy Kyle's on, I think, or is it Mark Dolan? It'll be Mark Dolan. So make sure you stay tuned. 0344 499 1000. It's Andre and Ash with Mike Salem back after this.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, this is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Mike Salem. And look, I'll tell you what we've got to do, Mike.
Oh, yes.
You're going to hate this. You're going to hate this. Front page of the Times, Royal Ascot.
Oh, goodness
Tell me about horse racing.
Well, I was watching the Christmas Day a few weeks ago when he won. And my Andre big sister, she bet on Christmas Day and it's actually won. But sadly, I don't think we've been as successful this year with the horses.
That's the thing. Once you win one, you think you're infallible.
So we haven't done so well. But I like it. It's a good occasion. We're talking about values and culture. Very much part of it.
I'll tell you what I like about Royal Ascot, and as you listen to this, there's Friday and Saturday left. The one thing I would say, so I'm lucky enough to be a member of the Royal Enclosure. There's no point in pretending that I'm a massive toff. I mean, people can hear from the accent, whatever. I end up as a member. My mum used to go, and I think she was quite, I don't know, she was quite posh, whatever. But what's great about it, you can go for like £15 or £20. Take your own booze. Oh, those bits are a bit fruity. I would advise you to go if you're more younger and a bit, you know.
Yes, indeed.
But you know, you can watch the racing all day, and I think it is great fun. And I'll tell you what I really, really love about it. You know, there's something for everybody. I'm very proud to be a member. Well, I'm not very proud to be a Royal Enclosure member. It costs a bloody fortune. But I enjoy taking people there. But I'm an older guy, right? It's great when you see younger people going. And also, I will say one thing. I'm going to say this, right? The large number of people from the traveller community who go in some of the cheaper enclosures, it has to be said, we spend our lives saying that travellers, gypsies, whatever you want to call them, cause trouble. No, not at all. Actually, they like the horse racing. They get involved. They're lovely people. Wouldn't challenge one to a fight, but you know, I think it's important to remember that we look at people in a negative way sometimes, but actually, you know, people who are integrating are important.
And it's a very uniting activity, isn't it? You see people, as you said, from all walks of life, of all ages. So yeah, let me know next time we're going. Maybe you might invite me. Yes,
tell me about the other thing on the front page of the Times, which is about UK mega projects.
Oh, well, hold on, before you do that, about Ascot, a very serious matter. Someone I used to present a show with, Lizzie Cundy, was turned away from Ascot. It's reported in The Sun. Mortified wag humiliated as she is banned from Ascot and turned away after flirty behaviour and flouting dress code. Don't you know, Lizzie Cundy? A mortified wag was left humiliated after being banned from Ascot, allegedly for a flirty behaviour and flouting the strict dress code. Thousands flocked to the... We should get her on to talk about this. She looks fine. She always looks great.
Let's have a look at her clothing.
Yeah, but what's up? People wear that. What's wrong with all that? I mean, yeah, you can see through it. But, I mean, that's what she wears normally, and she's paid a lot of money. No, she's worked hard in the gym for all that. Many famous faces flocked to the event, including Lizzie Cundy, who was excited. However, Lizzie, who was previously married to JJ Cundy from TalkSport, Lizzie was mortified. She arrived today to have her photos taken with all the other celebrity guests, and it was made very clear she wasn't welcome. She attended Ascot for years, and while Lizzie wasn't given specific reason for being banned, those behind the scenes say her flirty behaviour with some of the male guests in 2025 didn't go down too well. Leave Lizzie alone. Maybe we should try and get her on. Maybe tomorrow we'll get her on.
I mean, how will I sleep tonight? I
know. Poor Lizzie.
News.
She's lovely, Lizzie. How dare they do that?
Oh, well.
We'll try and get her on tonight.
The Ascot ban, I didn't know that. The Cundy Ascot ban.
Unbelievable. Very, very hurt.
Right. I'm just going to ask you this question, Asher.
Yeah.
I want you to think about this. Bear in mind, we're all friends with her. And also, you have to be honest to your audience.
Yeah.
Lizzie Cundy banned for unacceptable clothing and jumping all over men for photos. Is that completely unbelievable?
Well, no, but I mean, isn't that what goes on at Ascot anyway these days with all the new
they hate people exploiting the event for publicity.
She's friends, her mum's very good friends with Queen Camilla. So I hope she has a word with it.
I've heard that.
Well, at least Celeste.
We've all heard
next year, dress up properly, and
she was my
she
best
dresses.
day.
I mean, she has amazing wardrobe. I mean, I bet that costs a fortune, and she looks great. I mean, it's ridiculous. Snobbery.
I will tell you what happened with me and Lizzie Cundy, and I do like Lizzie. Right, when I first got a job at Talk, I was a fill-in presenter years ago, and I was filling in for Alexis Conran. Right.
Okay.
So, Lizzie Cundy was going to do, I was told she's going to do a celebrity paper review. Sorry, a celebrity roundup or whatever.
Okay.
She arrived in, she'd just got off a plane from Spain, so she knew nothing about what was going on. So she got the copy of The Sun and just read out every article.
Oh, dear.
Right. And then the following day, I read in The Sun again, Lizzie Cundy stands looking beautiful for her new job at Talk as a presenter of Ono. I wasn't even mentioned. First, every year, do you remember when I used to do that Christmas party on the boat?
Oh, yeah.
Every year she used to...
Great,
Lizzie's Christmas party. Never mentioned me.
She's a natural, and you know, she's a Bond girl. She was, you remember the famous scene where, which one was it? The one with the legs?
She was in the background.
With the legs. No, she was in the bath. You know, there was that
Extras.
one where he's having his legs wrapped round and being squeezed in the bath.
That was pretty
Which
wonderful.
one was
Timothy
that one?
Dalton or the one after.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, she was the leg model. It was her legs doing
was
that.
it?
She's got the best legs in the business.
Did you recognise it, or did you?
I
ask
did, yeah.
her?
They're unmistakable hairpins. Yeah. Anyway,
All right, anyway, paper review.
the paper review: man arrested after boy thrown into crocodile enclosure in Cambridgeshire. So I don't know what happened there, but it sounds a bit dodgy.
This has been on the news all day, and even my family has been raising this issue. I'm obviously very sorry to hear about the kids.
Well, we don't know what happened.
But then again, now the government maybe will look at a review and to ban crocodiles.
It
or
banned the
something.
crocodiles,
yes.
yeah.
But it is a shame. But, again,
When you say ban the crocodiles, I mean, how many...
There's quite a few.
Well, it's a knee-jerk reaction. It might become popular
Deport
policy.
crocodiles.
Yes.
I loved...
They've not integrated well.
Sorry, I didn't find this funny, but there was this bloke who kept a chimpanzee in his house, and they said it bit his nose off and his fingers off, and it said it jumped all over him, and they said it always goes for three places.
Oh dear.
The nose, the hands,
Well, I don't think
and the nose, the hands, and the genitals, but they didn't mention anything. They just mentioned the hand and the face.
Oh.
Well, look, this is very serious, obviously. He's a 3-year-old.
Indeed.
It's critical but stable. Hopefully they weren't attacked.
Well, that's good.
It's from the fall, but
yes.
they're terrible.
I mean, I was
players.
making a remark on the fact that, for instance, XL bullies were banned a few years ago because of stuff like that. Where social media, now it's being, banned from
I
under
saw this
16s.
beast on the tube yesterday, like this big grey beast, and then it was sort of sick on the floor of the tube, and the bloke didn't clean it up, and I sort of thought, well, the people that own these dogs, that's, what I mean.
But I would imagine you would need a zoological licence to keep a.
Look at that! That was on the
Yes.
tube. That was the flipping dog on the tube. Look at that beast. I mean, that's
So
terrifying.
I think, oh goodness me, it looks like it's chomping at the bit.
Yeah, you can't really see. Yeah.
Yeah, I think probably an investigation
that.
should be in order to look at how that happened and, hold the people who are responsible to that to account. But I don't think the government should interfere.
No.
Yes.
Cost of living, hope for UK, we've done that. Harvey Weinstein ruined my film career, says Robert Lindsay. The new Ford Escort, yours for £295,000.
What?
Right. They've gone up a lot. I think it's a retro one that they've remade. Only Attenborough is safe from the BBC cuts. He's 100 years old now, isn't he? And Moscow burning. They really know what they're doing, the Ukrainians now. They're bombing right deep into Russia, into Moscow.
It's reassuring to know that David Attenborough will become a fossil fuel in a couple of years.
He's used all the bloody fossil fuels.
He can campaign against himself.
Starmer in the Times. Starmer amasses Worcester fight-off leadership challenge. Starmer is a 6-figure Worcester to fund his campaign to see off a leadership challenge. The Times has been told that the Prime Minister has secured the support of a group of private donors before a potential contest. Critics, however, suggested he was unlikely to raise enough to mount a serious defence. Is there any amount of money that could save him?
Well, you can't pay MPs off. Maybe you can if you're Lord Ali, I suppose. But, yeah, I think it really depends on what happens in the next few hours. If Burnham does get elected, he's clearly the obvious candidate to mount a leadership challenge. He did confirm, I think, a few hours ago that he would not start his campaign tomorrow or during the weekend. So I think he's waiting till next week.
But how about we explore this issue? What difference does it make? I mean, it's not a different direction of travel with Andy Burnham. He's a nicer bloke. He's a more personable character. He's got a more interesting backstory, slightly. But I mean,
I think there will be. I think he's going to be a lot more left-wing driven, and that we should
you
all
think
be
so?
very concerned about that. And sort of the idea of, oh, you know, well, we're not going to be dictated by what the bond markets say, is an indication to how much he's willing to spend. I mean, I think if he's going to change directions, it sounds like he may want to call a general election, and I think that's what he might do. He might get elected, become the Prime Minister, announces his agenda, say, look, I'm going to be spending on 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to increase spending, and to get the mandate...
And that would, by the way, Mike, Labour would lose a lot of seats, but it would eradicate the, dare I say, problem people from the Labour bench.
Yeah.
So you would lose maybe 100 seats, but it wouldn't be 100 good ones, if we're being totally honest.
And, you know, I always have respect for politicians who do that, even if I don't agree with them politically. If you stand on a policy and you're committed and dedicated to it, then, you know...
Yeah, but he's not committed to anything, is he?
Well, if he is committed to that left-wing direction and he wants to, for example, remove the cap on the 2-child benefit, if he wants to...
Yeah, but this week he does that and the next week he doesn't.
Well, he is during the election, I agree, so like on Brexit, for instance. But it'll be interesting to see when he becomes in position of power, whether he thinks that power will enable him to actually implement a consistent agenda, or is he going to flip-flop again, depending on political pressure?
But Mike, I think what you've said is absolutely right. Look, one of the big concerns that I've got, and it's a criticism I put with Labour, Conservatives, we don't know if we can criticise the Lib Dems, Reform, Restore, the Greens on this. But I said this, I want to be Prime Minister to sit on my backside and get, you know, fly around in the rubbish version of Air Force One, right? I don't... Look, whatever you think of the Asher Goulds, Mike Grahams, the Patrick Christie's, I don't know, Jacob Rees-Mogg, all of these people that you see on the TV, if you were to put them into number 10, whether they'd be good or bad as a Prime Minister, would go, I want to do this. Right, I've got this burning desire to do something. Right now, I'm not saying they'd be good at the job, but they have. But
they'd have a go, though.
You get these, and it's just. Ugh.
Yeah, and I think that's been broken down because the realities of the political game means that you have to concede here, do this, and change. And by the time you've got up there, you have already compromised on so much, so you've lost that energy and drive, which is why very few people actually do have that drive.
Well, because they've gone because of the EU. All good people went out of politics, and also with Labour, with the Corbyn type, they just left politics.
Well,
totally.
Define good as in know how to play the system.
A bit of star quality, you know, have a bit about them.
But if you OK, so if you are Tony Blair, what is the dream? Abolish the hereditary peerage. Right, OK. Create devolved assemblies. You know, change trade union funding. OK, maybe I can go on. Gordon Brown, create an independent judicial appointments committee. Keir Starmer, what? Oh, let's alter abortion regulations. And nobody goes. Do you know what? Like Clem Attlee goes, I'm going to create an NHS. Gordon Brown goes, let's alter the rules on judicial appointments.
Yeah, but Blair did, didn't he? Quite secretly. I mean, he added about 20,000 laws, and basically he left the position of. He basically poured concrete down the bridge.
Well,
no, but it was to change it, and then Starmer's taken and ran with it.
His big vision was to change the constitution,
destroy it.
But the reason behind that is because the size of the state has grown so much that you can't really implement anything. Anything that you want to introduce has to be very specific, limited, measurable, something that you can actually sort of try and change. Because if you try and remove a department nowadays, I mean, that's impossible.
If I walked in, I agree with what James Cleverly said as Home Secretary. He said it to me, but it was a dinner which you know, and I think he said it to other people. He walked in and said, let's stop the small boats, get the Royal Navy to do it. That is not legal, Home Secretary. Your job is just to apologise for it not happening. That's it, really. And you see the Prime Minister's Question Time all the time. Would the Prime Minister lobby Natural England on behalf of my constituents? Would the Prime Minister talk to the Crown Prosecution Service? Could the Prime Minister try and secure a meeting with me? And you think there's nobody says, Prime Minister, can you do this? Because he'd have to stand up and go, look, unfortunately, I'm the chief person that lobbies on your behalf. The job of the Prime Minister now is to lobby on your behalf, to say to government departments and quangos and executive agencies, I would like you to do this, but you don't have to.
Well, the sad reality, it's because MPs have become glorified councillors, where actually from now on, if you have any issues, because of this, because you want the government to do things for you, if you have an issue, you tell your MP and your MP sorts it out for you, where actually Parliament should be this place of debating policy. It should be parliamentarians actually sitting down, scrutinising legislation, thinking of ideas on how to actually achieve growth, prosperity in this country, and instead they spend all of their time reading through constituency emails, fix my pothole, which is not an MP's issue.
I will tell you something, Mike. Having worked as a senior parliamentary assistant, alas, you are completely right. And also, when I was a senior parliamentary assistant, I was guilty of that.
But you've got to do it because
we didn't.
Yeah. But you don't, and your MP, your boss, wouldn't have time to even.
No, that's correct.
Actually scrutinise bills nowadays. And if you want to vote on something nowadays, you just look at the whip.
Oh,
and
by the way, can I show you the front page of the Sun? No. That's lovely. Look at that Ascot lady.
Oh,
now
yes.
it's not dodgy in any way. But it's... Oh, I love that.
It's a very beautiful dress.
Gone like that. No, I'm joking. I think I prefer it.
But look, yeah, it is... And this is the thing. It's an opportunity for people to dress up. And I think people should respect
Do you
that.
like dressing up, do you?
Oh, I do.
Oh, we
Yes,
found that Mike likes dressing... Put your Panama hat on.
Go on, then. Let's have a look.
It's a nice
Is
one,
that good?
Mate.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I've got a couple of Panama hats.
Yeah,
It looks great, actually.
I'm going to the Bulls tennis competition next week. I'll be wearing it.
Just to say to everybody, what we're going to do at midnight is Ask Asher. That is 20 minutes of calls where you can ask Asher Gould. Now, always remember one thing. Always remember one thing. He's got no knowledge in law, no knowledge in philosophy.
So I'll have a go at it. Or medicine. And I'm much better rates than the qualified ones. So make sure
I can fill in with the law and philosophy.
You've got a bit of law,
and then you can... I studied PPE, so I can do that. But
PE?
PPE, philosophy, politics, economics.
No, personal protective equipment.
Yes, that during COVID. But
masks.
Yes, very good.
No, political philosophy. You can't. Yeah, that's what they all do.
Now, Asher unfortunately couldn't even pronounce it.
No, I can't even say it. I can't even say your degree. UK weight. This is sort of what we're talking about. UK wastes billions paying too much for big projects, transport schemes. We're going to take a break, but look, we'll be talking about that. And basically, our nuclear new power station in Hinkley, it's cost about 10 times what it costs China to make their one. So they can build 10 for the cost of one. And look at HS2 and everything else. Anyway, we'll be talking about all that. Mike Salem's here. It's Andre Nash on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Now.
So this is a press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Mike Salem. And Mike, Asher introduced this story before the break
in the Times.
From the Times, which was the idea that everything that we ever do in terms of infrastructure in this country costs far too much. What are we going to do?
Well, we need to cut red tape and we need to cut the health and safety regulation. We need to cut everything that basically adds cost to it. one of the most famous stories that came out of HS2, for example, was the £110 million bat tunnel, which is not too far from where I live. And
Like the fish disco.
yeah, I mean, it's... Come on.
£50 million to save 150 fish a year.
Indeed. I mean, we do have... Yeah, we do have...
And bats are evil. They turn into vampires.
Can we explain the £110 million bat tunnel? Because I think it's important to understand that Natural England, the organisation that is paid for by the taxpayer, forced HS2 to put that in place. And no matter how much government says that was a disgrace, the organisation that forced it and the regulatory environment that enabled them to force it still exist.
It's the Quangos, isn't it?
And that's the problem. And I think, look, we have a duty to look after our environment. I think it's a very good thing to do. We need to be conscious of how we are affecting the environment, but we have to do it sensibly. And that was not done sensibly. It wasn't done in due consideration. And it's like many people and what they believe. It's just incredible. But
it's very easy. It's very easy for somebody like Keir Starmer to turn around and go, "This shouldn't have happened." Correct. But the reason it happened still exists today.
Indeed. So we're not actually fixing the problem.
I will tell you, we tried to build a school for the disabled. In Maidenhead, when I worked for the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead, and we did successfully build it. Natural England turned up, and all these people, and they found a rare breed of slow worm. Right? Nobody had ever heard of this thing before.
They're all slow.
Right. So nobody had ever heard of this thing, and so now we had to spend £50,000 on a new home for the slow worms, right? Now, ultimately, I don't know what value these are to the natural environment, but what's actually happening is this: every single development, lunatics are coming down from Natural England and finding a reason to build something weird. Yeah. Oh, look at him. That's a newt with a different type of head to the other one.
Cancel the building.
Stick it in a bag and throw it in the river next door, for God's sake. But that doesn't happen. I suggested when we discovered slow worms that they give me a bucket and spade, right? Which is the way you normally relocate a worm. Yeah, man. Right? But of course,
they need to know their place.
But the reality is, now, look, there's going to be every single project. I knew somebody, by the way, who was building a new house, and they said, if you discover anything subterranean, you have to phone up our local archaeologists. Now, those archaeologists are on £400 a day, and they can sit there dusting like Time Team on your expense for as long as possible. Do you know what he did? When he found a cavern, he stuck it full of concrete. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because he could have been in for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds. Now, if what he'd been allowed to do, open it up and have a look for free, that's fine. Whatever was down there's now been destroyed because of the stupidity of this system.
Even things like if you want to sometimes paint your windows in a grade-listed building, you have to get planning permissions and all that.
Bats in the roof, you can't do anything about
and then, building a shed or anything like that. It's the amount of regulation that we now have is insane. And I just want to highlight this number from the article because it's really unbelievable. Over 5 years, it was found that the government could have saved £42 billion if it had delivered projects at the same relative cost as comparable countries. So other countries are doing projects amounting to £42 billion less.
Yeah, because and you know why? It's corruption. People are taking, in China, if you're corrupt, they shoot you.
We're not talking about China. We're talking about countries like France, Germany, Italy, Canada, and South Korea.
It's all backhanders and corruption.
So let me do some basic mathematics. Isn't that about £800 for every man, woman, and child in the country? 42,000 million, 65 million people.
65 million people.
About £100 each.
About £800.
That's nice.
So people driving down the M6 now, working late at night because they're trying to feed their families, should go away knowing that if you are a family of four, then you've ended up being done over for £3,200 on just stupidity.
And to add to that, of course, the government borrows it, which means you pay interest on top of that figure.
150 billion a year we're paying in interest.
So I mean, this is government waste, and this is, you know, we're being taken for fools here because, you know, this is our money. There's no such thing as a government money. It's all our taxpayers' money, and they're not spending it right. So we need infrastructure. I accept that, and we need it really to unlock growth.
But this is
not how to do it.
This is what Gordon Brown changed about this country. We've spent X billions. Can you imagine if I said to you, Mike, I'm going to get you a car. I'm going to spend £1 million on a car for you.
Oh.
And I turned up with a second-hand Fiat Panda.
No,
right?
or a bus.
Yeah, but you go, hang on a second, but that wasn't good value. But I've invested £1 million in this car. You go, but I want a nice car, not a rubbish car. And we have now become obsessed with just spend. Spending is. We've invested in this. We've spent £4 billion on that.
Record investment.
Record spending. Spend.
As if it's not our money, like you said.
Yeah,
As
well,
if
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
As if your teenage kid came home and went,
Indeed,
I've spent a record amount. I nicked your credit card and I've spent a record amount. You go, well, that's not good. Oh, don't worry, I've got your value for it. No, I think you're never leaving the house again now.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I think this is very important to highlight because it just shows, you know, how ridiculous it all is, and we need to really hold our politicians to account with how they spend our money. And the reality is, we are the best people to spend our own money. We know how to spend it best. And the less we can give to the government, the better we are all off, to be honest.
I think the less they're involved, the better. We've got a little breaky at this juncture. Well, then, let's do that. It's Mike Salem here with us. It's Andre National Talk, 03444991000. Mark Doran's coming up if you're listening in the morning, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is the paper review with Andre Walker Ashergold and Mike Salem, and I just want to show you this front page of the Metro. Okay, are we going to talk a little bit about football?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
I think they're right to have Jude's photo the biggest, because I think he was the best player out there, no doubt.
Their goalkeeper was the best player out there, wasn't he? I mean,
he did really well. He did really well.
He
yes.
was amazing. He should have got man of the match, I suppose.
But Jude was everywhere. He was defending, he was attacking, he was winning the ball back.
Yeah.
I mean, he was on
So I don't know a great deal about football, but my younger brother, who's staying with me because we went to Ascot, is the chairman of a football club. Now, obviously, you know, it's a small football club. It's only got 1,000 members,
Leeds United.
whatever. But what he said is, you know, there is a significant danger with having this weak defence that England have got. I have to say, it seemed to me that England absolutely mauled Croatia. And yet,
when they went on the attack, you see, the first obviously, I went to England, Italy at Wembley, you know, with Southgate, and the reason Southgate tried to hold the Italians, they were a better team than us, and we could have beaten them with our flair and doing exactly what we did in the second half yesterday, and that's what Tuchel. Apparently, people said, "Oh, did he really shout at you in half time?" And Kane said, "No, he didn't shout at us. He just said, look, I just want you to go out and play just like you're enjoying it. If you lose and you play well, then I'm happy with that." And that was the fix, and we were all over them in the second half.
Indeed.
And this is where I think you can't have a defensive manager. You've got to be, for England, you've got to have someone who knows how to attack and break teams down and use the flair of our players, because we're never going to be an organised unit like the Italians or maybe the Brazilians, but we have got the flair players, we've got the tricks, and we can get things.
Exactly. I mean, that last goal by Rashford and Saka, that play was just incredible.
So you're basically saying, just so I understand it, there are a few brilliant players and everybody else is ancillary.
Yeah, and also we don't play together as a team. I don't know why other nations do, because
they practice more together.
Yeah, but I don't know if it is. I don't know what it is, because in our Premier League, obviously, not many English players.
I think the burden of the Premier League is so big.
And just
but it's not English players mainly in your Premier League.
And because you have so many good teams, so all the players are spread out.
But they play for years together, whereas but it's really working. And they basically, he said, Tuchel, play like a Premier League with that pace, and that's exactly what they did. And they seem like a team that was together. They really were linking up really well.
Do you mind if I show you the Guardian?
We can do it better than talk sport. Don't worry about that.
Well, yes.
Yeah, go on. What?
Right, so Britain should rejoin the EU, says the Guardian. Mind you, Britain should expel the Jews, says the Guardian. No, it doesn't. I don't understand why the left think the EU's so marvellous. I get they were disappointed about leaving. I get they liked it.
They hate the state, don't they? The nation state, really.
They love big government, bigger the better.
Indeed, and I think that's the sad reality. And look, I mean, we've made a decision, and some people might agree or disagree with it, but at the end of the day, that was the democratic will of the people, and we just have to march on.
It was ignored. It was ignored.
Well, indeed. I mean, I would argue we still are in the early days of Brexit, because we still haven't been able to negotiate things properly. We haven't been able to actually establish ourselves post-Brexit. So I don't think it's a good idea, to be honest. I think we should just let's see how we settle in, how we play it out. And the EU has its own issues, and I don't think we should be roped into that. And actually, many Europeans were sad that we left, because we were always the voice of no. We were always the voice of accountability. And now other countries who used to say no don't have that gravitas anymore.
They don't have someone to be with,
And actually, that made the EU stronger, because having that voice of no made that, let's rethink the policy. But no, they haven't got us.
Financial Times, Bank of England keeps rates at 3.75 after Iran peace deal lowers oil price. So they've got to keep it down, because oil prices and inflation's horrendous, so they're keeping it down. And rape convictions under review after a detective allegedly used AI chatbot. Several rape convictions are under review after a detective involved in the case was suspended for allegedly preparing evidence by giving biased prompts to an AI chatbot. So the FT revealed last week that Derbyshire Police had suspended the officer from frontline duties and launched a criminal investigation over the AI use in what is thought to be the first of its case in the kind of UK. They did use it. The Birmingham West Midlands Police used it in to report on the fake news in Amsterdam, didn't they? They used AI and got caught out for that.
Yes, indeed, in the report, didn't they? And I also read in the news today that they are going to introduce AI in the criminal court system as well.
AI juries.
So not quite there, but
I've sat on 5 juries, and I will tell you, First of all, I can't tell you what happened in the jury room.
Of course.
Because that is illegal.
Or 12 angry men.
No, they were fantastic. They were fantastic, these people. Ordinary people sat and listened, not day after day. I mean, they weren't long trials that I did, a couple of days each. But, people really cared.
Indeed.
And I cannot tell you about one incident, but, there was an occasion when legal powers were used to find somebody not guilty when perhaps the evidence pointed in the other direction. It's called moral justification.
Yeah.
Well, a jury can decide whatever. Even if they think it's guilty, they can actually decide that the law is a stupid law. It won't set a precedent, but they can say in that court case, well, he might be guilty, but we think it's a stupid law. So
Yeah, that's what
Yeah, I mean, I think on the AI, and this is the accountability factor, and I think on the AI it's very important that, okay, if people want to use AI, whatever, but it has to be someone who's being held accountable at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah, we've just got to say goodbye to our morning people. Mark Darler's next. Yes, join me for a much better show than Andre Nash's After the News. Make sure you're with me on Talk. Let's go back to Andre Nash's less inferior show. Right, thanks. We're back in the room. Yeah, carry on. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, so, I think the people who use these tools should be held to account at the end of the day, and it is very important for us to make that distinction. We still have to keep that human aspect of it.
But we believe, as a country, that mathematics is more important in human interaction than human interaction. I have an AI research thing that I say, oh, can you get me stats on this, get me stats on that? It's fantastic. But it's not going to make you a better person by believing what it says.
20 seconds, Mike. Come on, quick.
Question everything, read everything, educate yourself,
like
and
Springer's
don't let the government take you for fools.
Wait, another 10 seconds. You've got
Okay,
too early.
Asher.
Too early, man.
It's Ask Asher next. 0344 499 1000. He's
all
going to be
in
coming
there,
up the
don't worry
next
about
20
that.
minutes after 12 o'clock. Asher is going to be on 0344 499 1000. Get your calls in right now.